Well, Mikel Arteta and his men have got a real stranglehold on the title race. 4-point lead will it be this year for Arsenal in the Premier League? And of course, a red-hot contest, the London derby to look forward to this weekend, Tottenham and Chelsea. It's game week 10 of the Premier League, and we've got it covered on the assist. Well, welcome along to The Assist. It's brought to you by The Racing Post in association with Free Super Tips, your home of the daily football hackers and, of course, your bet builders. And we've got some fine football betting boffins, their brains to pick this week. We've got James Mason and Aaron Ashley. How are we, chaps? Aaron, come to you first. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm all well, thanks, Dave. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. You're going to be our man for the EFL. And got a little bit of FA Cup sprinkled in as well. Mace the Ace, James Mason. A Shrewdy, good to have you on board, James.
Yeah, no, good to be here. Assist debut for me, so let's hopefully I can bang in some winners.
Okay, right. Well, assist debut for me as well. We will try and keep the West Ham chat to a minimum, I think, chaps. So I'm an unhappy happer at the moment. But the producer has stitched me up already because we're going to go to some comments from last week. And, of course, one of them features West Ham. Up first, a comment here from Parakuti. Don't remember the last time I saw a lino flag a pen. Why don't they do it more in the EFL? The communication between refs seems non-existent most of the time. Quite often the referee is behind the player, can't spot a clear handball or an obvious foul. It leads to less goals, which is bad for the game. I would certainly agree with that. And we also got one from Andy Turner, who says, I've seen a lot of games in all leagues this season, but that West Ham performance versus Brentford was undoubtedly the worst. Yeah, it was pretty grim stuff. Who wants to take that one, chaps?
I'll go for it. It wasn't good at all. It wasn't bad for the first 10, 15 minutes or so, but then it just completely capitulated for West Ham, and they're in real trouble. They are in real trouble. Even with Nuno coming in, it was meant to shore things up and have that defensive-minded approach, but it just hasn't worked so far. It could still work, but yeah, it wasn't a good performance at all.
Grim. Very, very grim. Right, as I mentioned, it is match week number 10, game week 10, the Premier League. We've got some unbelievable action, and top of the show is, of course, that red-hot London derby. It is Tottenham versus Chelsea. We'll spin through all of the Premier League fixtures this weekend, pick the brains of our experts that are joining us here on The Assist this week. Do remember to get involved with us here on the YouTube channel. Like, comment and subscribe. We definitely want to hear your naps. I don't really want to hear too much about West Ham in the comments, but definitely give us your best bets of the week. Right, let's start with that London derby then. Tottenham versus Chelsea. Tottenham 17-10, 5-2 the draw, 31-20 Chelsea. 5:30 kickoff on Saturday. We'll come to you first. Aaron, what do you like here?
I'm going to go for both teams to score and over 2.5 goals, Dave. Injuries are obviously hurting both teams quite significantly at the minute. They're far weaker than should be the case and would be the case. Tottenham are managing it better currently, but I wouldn't have much faith in either of them to claim maximum points. Chelsea's reliance on Cole Palmer is clear for all to see, but they have won 8 of their last 10 meetings with Spurs. So that's something that they'll be going there confident, thinking that they can repeat the trick. And they've got the pace in wide areas to really hurt this Tottenham backline. Tottenham had kept back-to-back clean sheets prior to Wednesday's EFL Cup defeat to Newcastle, but I think they were flattered in doing so. Vicario was the man to thank against Everton and Monaco. He pulled off a number of excellent saves to keep that clean sheet, and I think they're becoming happier on the road, Tottenham. You look at their home league games this season, they've played 4 times at home in the league this season. That's featured a draw with Wolves and defeats to Aston Villa and Bournemouth, whereas they've been picking up points galore on the road. So I think this is a tricky game for them. Obviously, Chelsea, after their summer overhaul and the injuries they've got, Enzo Maresca still trying to work out his strongest 11, and that's pretty clear to see. They look so ropey at the back defensively. Obviously, they were involved in that chaotic 4-3 game with Wolves in midweek in the EFL Cup. Both teams scoring over 2.5 goals has been a winning bet in 9 of their last 11 matches, and I expect the trend to continue here in this London derby.
Well, listen, this is a fixture, James, in which I think the pair of them kick lumps out of each other down the years. So maybe we'll see bookings and red cards. It does look like, as Aaron has said, that Tottenham seem to have settled the issue of the man between the sticks. Vicario looking very, very good. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it should be an entertaining game. I can't really pick a winner out of both. I could make an argument for both of them, but would not much confidence in doing that. So you've already mentioned they're kicking lumps out of each other. Well, I'm going for over 5.5 cards. I just think these two, they've got a bit of a history, of course, but you look at what they've done disciplinary-wise this season so far. Chelsea, they've had 18 yellows. Spurs have had 17. The Blues have also added 3 red cards to their CV as well. You look at recent fixtures between them. There was 10 yellows split evenly when these two last met. There were 5 when they last clashed at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You roll it back a little bit more in the history, 6 yellows and 2 reds in this fixture in November 2023 as well. So they've got a bit of a fiery history, and I think the cards will be getting dished out. Both like to play front foot football. They like attacking football, so they leave themselves exposed at the back. They favour attack over defence, and I just think there'll be some tackles flying in. I think there'll be some attempts to try and stop the play. So I think the referee will be kept pretty busy in this one.
Okay, right. So that is 5:30 on Saturday. We've got an 8 p.m. kickoff on Saturday night as well. Liverpool are hosting Aston Villa. Prices here 8-13 Liverpool, 7-2 the draw, and 7-2 the Villains. I'll come to you first there, and listen, 8-13 Liverpool at home. I didn't think we'd see any sort of price like that this season unless they were playing the likes of Arsenal or maybe a Man City.
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it, Dave? Is now the time to back Liverpool to respond at 8-13 after 4 straight Premier League defeats? At Anfield, I reckon there'll be plenty that are willing to get involved in that. But for me, they just look so disjointed defensively that I can't really entertain it. And especially on in the fact that Villa, they come here after 4 straight Premier League wins as well, and they've got their tails up now. It's 6 defeats in 7 for Liverpool in all competitions. And I know that a lot of their supporters were not happy with Arne Slot's team selection yesterday. Supporters pay a lot of money, to go to Anfield. It's only an EFL Cup game, but they just completely disregarded it. It's basically, he was saying like, we don't want to be in this competition is pretty much what he's done there. And I reckon that it's lucky that he's got a bit of money in the bank with last season's Premier League title, because otherwise they would really be coming on him for that, Brentford, they looked like scoring pretty much every time they went forward in last weekend's 3-2 win. Their pace going forward, they just counter-attacked the hell out of Liverpool, and they just didn't know how to handle it. So Villa, having beat City 1-0 last weekend, they will be confident. As for a best bet, though, Dave, I'm going to go for Mohamed Salah, anytime goal scorer. I know you said that Liverpool 8-13 looks big, but you wouldn't be getting 5-4 about Salah anytime goal scorer in a game like this either. I know he's been in poor form for his supremely high standards, but that excellent finish against the Bees, I think that's something that could transform his season. Obviously, he missed midweek, so he should be fresh. And he had 5 shots in that game, and he actually has 9 goals in 13 meetings with Villa. And I reckon that's a record that could be enhanced here.
Okay, right, little bits and pieces of noise coming out that he could be on his way, but Aaron going with him to find the back of the net and silence the doubters. What about yourself, James?
Yeah, I've gone for Aston Villa double chance in this one. You do think with everything that's going on with Liverpool at the moment, just how low is their confidence. And I actually think that Arne Slot missed a bit of a trick in midweek as well in that EFL Cup tie. It was a much changed, quite youthful side with the defence was made up of a few experienced bods as well. But you just thought that was an opportunity where you could have played a bit of a stronger team and just try to build that confidence back up and put yourself further in the competition. But he didn't. They were pretty abject, really. They were all right for the first sort of 20, 25 minutes. There was a couple of decent efforts from Ngoma on the left-hand side. Chiesa probably should have scored. But then after that, when Palace started to get to grips with them, the defence just crumbled like it has done in recent weeks. And Aaron has mentioned there the fact that, Liverpool with the 4 straight league defeats, it's 6 defeats in the last 7 in all comps. And it's a stark contrast to Villa at the moment after what was a bit of a bitty start to the campaign for them. They've won 6 their last 7, recently beating Man City 1-0. They're unbeaten in the last 3 away from home in the league. They've drawn at Everton and Sunderland. They've won at Tottenham. They do have a poor record at Anfield, though. They've not won in the last 7 trips. The last victory there was 2014. So just for that little bit of a buffer or a safer play, I think the double chance is probably the way to go.
Oh, there you go. The lads have spoken. 8-13 Liverpool, lay or play. Jump in the comments below. Let us know your thoughts on Liverpool, a struggling Liverpool side at home to Villa on Saturday night. Right, let's go to 3 p.m. on Saturday. And the league leaders, Arsenal, 4 points clear. They are at Burnley. Burnley 17-2, 19-4 the draw, and 27-100 Arsenal, the away team. I'll come to you first, James. A short price Arsenal, but rightly so.
Yeah, rightly so. I mean, is this going to be the season for them? That's what everyone's kind of asking themselves. It's arguably the best chance they've had of winning the Premier League title in quite a long time. They've got strength and depth all over their squad in all positions. And that's what they have missed, I think, in recent campaigns, is just when they've picked up an injury or two, it's someone to come in and replace them and still stay on track. Well, they've got the players to do that in this season. You know, the juggernauts continue, and they've won 8 in a row. That was after Wednesday's EFL Cup victory over Brighton. It was another 1-0 as well. They've only conceded 3 goals in all competitions this season, so you've seen how good they are at the back. I would say 2 of those goals they've conceded have come away from home, so there's maybe slightly a bit more fragility when they're on their travels. 6 clean sheets in a row for the Gunners as well, but I just fancy here Arsenal to win, but both teams to score, slightly going against the grain of what Arsenal have done defensively this season. But you look at Burnley, they've scored in 9 of their 11 matches in all competitions this season. They've scored against the likes of Man City and Villa as well. And they've competed really, really well. I think they could have enough to find the back of the net here, albeit in defeat. It's been quite a different Claret side that we've seen in previous Premier League seasons where, you know, they've tried to be so defensively sound and then that's taken away from coming forward. But I think Scott Parker's putting a bit more emphasis on trying to score the goals. So I think Arsenal to win, but both teams to score.
There you go. James going against the grain there, thinking the rock-solid Gunners are going to concede on the way to victory. Right, Aaron, how do you see it?
I would be playing it a lot safer and I'd be backing Arsenal to keep another clean sheet, I think, Dave. I mean, the Gunners have conceded just 3 goals in 9 league games. They're letting up very few chances. Palace had only 1 effort on target at the Emirates last weekend. And after that 2-0 win over Brighton in midweek in the EFL Cup, it's 11 of their last 14 games this season they've won, and they've been accompanied by a clean sheet. While their style of play is not free-flowing, it's regularly criticised by supporters of the likes of Liverpool or City. Arsenal fans won't care one jot because I think it's probably going to carry them to the title. So I expect Arsenal to win, and I expect them to keep another clean sheet. But I think there could be grounds in getting some more bang for your buck and backing a 2-0 win here, Dave, which is available at 5-1. Away from home, Arsenal are yet to let the shackles off. Arteta's happy to be in front and control games. 5 of their 6 away matches have gone under 2.5 goals, and they've already won 2-0. They've already won 2-0 on 4 occasions this term. Burnley, they're more expansive than we were expecting after last season's dogged defensive displays in the Championship, but they had only 2 shots on target at the Etihad earlier in the season, and they failed to register a shot on target when losing 1-0 at home to Liverpool. So I think Arsenal can win this and win this comfortably and win it 2-0.
Well, there you go. Plenty of chat about Arteta and the handbrake still being on, and Aaron fancying just a 2-0 there. I'm sure there'll be plenty of people getting involved in handicaps and all sorts. Arsenal, a very short price this weekend at Burnley. Right, let's move to Man City then, 4:30 on Sunday. They are hosting Bournemouth, and they are 2s on, 15-4 the draw and 19-4 Bournemouth away. James, who have looked very dangerous, haven't they? Particularly on the counter-attack. So this could be the kind of match that you can see them being dangerous again.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. It's been fantastic from Bournemouth. I mean, who would have thought at the start of game week 10 that they'd be second in the table and Manchester City would be 5th? Only 2 points is the difference between them. But yeah, it just shows the job that Antonio Areola is doing. He's been linked with the City job at some point down the line as well. So potentially this is his sort of first interview for the job and see how he does against Pep Guardiola. But yeah, Bournemouth, they have those star players in there. I mean, you got to think this is a Bournemouth team who had their defence ripped to shreds in the summer. They lost 3 of their starting back 4 from the last season. Their 2 centre-backs, their left back, and they've managed to bring people in. But coming forward as well, I think the big thing was keeping the likes of Antoine Semenyo. He's been absolutely fantastic. I think if Bournemouth are going to keep their campaign going, keep it, potentially qualify for European football, they need to keep Semenyo in January. There'll be a few clubs again sniffing around him, but I think he's absolutely key to keep. For this game, though, against City, I do think they'll be competitive, but I think they will lose. So I'm going Man City to win and both teams to score. Now, both teams have scored in 5 of the last 6 meetings. City have ended up winning 4 of those. City's defence as well, although it was good recently, it's shown a few cracks of late. They lost 1-0 to Villa. They then had to come from behind to beat Swansea 3-1 in the EFL Cup in midweek. So any frailties at the back, I think, will be exposed by this Bournemouth side, who are flying at the moment. It's just one clean sheet away from home, though, for the Cherries this season. They've shipped 4 at Liverpool, 2 at Leeds, 3 at Palace. So while they like their front foot, attacking football, putting a lot of emphasis on coming forward, they do leave themselves exposed at the back. And you just wonder if City, with Erling Haaland, he had a rest in midweek, he'll be fit and firing and ready to go for this game. You just wonder if he's going to come in and bag a few goals as well. City are on a 4-game winning streak at home as well. They've beaten Man Utd, Napoli, Burnley, Everton. They've also won all 9 games against Bournemouth at the Etihad Stadium. So you've got to worry a little bit for the Cherries with that record. City have scored 33 goals in those 9 games as well, and averaged nearly 4 per match. So City win, both teams to score, but I think this one will be really, really entertaining.
Okay, maybe a goal fest then at the Etihad. What about yourself, Aaron?
Yeah, similar line to James, actually. But I'm going to go Man City to win and over 2.5 goals at evens. Man City, they need a response after last Sunday's 1-0 defeat at Villa. And despite the massive respect I have for Bournemouth, I do fancy them to get that victory here at the Etihad. I mean, this is pretty must win, actually, for City, because if you think about it and they go lose this game and Arsenal win, they're suddenly 9 points off the top. And then Bournemouth, they're already 2 points behind Bournemouth going into this game. So really, it is a must-win for Guardiola's men. He made a lot of changes in midweek for the team that beat Swansea in the EFL Cup. So they should be fresh. His key men, Erling Haaland, will be back, ready to go. And City actually signed off last season's home league campaign with a 3-1 win over the Cherries, which means all 9 meetings between the sides in the top flight at the Etihad have all been contests featuring 3 or more goals. Semenyo gives City plenty to be concerned about. Obviously, Bournemouth carry great threat on the counter-attack, but they have shipped 4 goals away at Liverpool, 3 away at Palace, and twice away at Leeds this season. And the hosts, I think they've got the resources to evade that Iriola's press, and I think they'll hit back in what could be a pretty frantic affair.
Okay, right, both lads thinking an entertaining affair, that one. Right, let's move on then to what could potentially be an absolute corker. Forest at home to Man United. 3 p.m. this one, 23-10. Forest 14-5, the draw, and 21-20 United. I'll stay with you, Aaron, and United got a bit of swagger about them at the moment.
Yeah, they do, Dave. I mean, short memories and all that, but I'm actually starting to believe that Ruben Amorim may have actually turned the corner, and I think the patience that has been paid in him, I think it's actually going to start paying off now. There's still voids to fill defensively, don't get me wrong, and in the heart of midfield, because Casemiro's legs are not going to last much longer. But having a reliable keeper who actually commands his box in Lamans is one thing that United really have been missing. I mean, your defence have been easy to blame, but at the end of the day, if you have a keeper behind you that you can't trust, that's when mistakes happen. And I think Lamans is a big upgrade on anything they've had. Brian Mbemo and Matthias Cunha, after scoring against Brighton last weekend, they're full of confidence, and I think they'll strike fear into this Forest side. So I fancy them to win again, Dave. Sean Dyche, he won't want this match to become stretched, and he probably won't allow it to, given his tactics. But I don't think there's a quick fix to lift the side that have won only one of their opening 9 league games, and they've failed to score in the last 4 top-flight matches. So United, I think they've got every reason to be feeling optimistic here, and I think they can make it 4 wins on the spin and prove that away victory at Anfield was no fluke.
Well, there you go. Aaron trying to retire Casemiro. Not quite as quickly as Jamie Carragher did, but he thinks he's on his way out. James, who are we going for?
Yeah, I'm going for the draw, actually, in this one. Although United are building a bit of consistency, 3 wins in the bounce in the league, I still have that doubt about, for me, whether Amorim is the right fit or whether he's got the players, the personnel to do like the formation in his style of football. There's just still that little bit of a question mark around them. They did win at Liverpool, of course, on the last away game. It was a good win for them, but on another day, the red side, they probably would have taken some of the chances they created. Mo Salah didn't have his finest game, and you still feel they were maybe slightly fortunate to come away with the 3 points. You look at their other away games, well, they've already lost at Brentford, Man City, Grimsby, of course, in the League Cup. They've drawn at Fulham. So the away form is a bit of concern for me. They now come up against a Forest side who've had a bit more time to work under the new manager, Sean Dyche. Who'll be desperate to try and shore things up at the back. They went down 2-0, but that was an informed Bournemouth last weekend. But I think they should benefit from return to the City ground. They beat Porto 2-0 there. That was Dyche's first game in charge. He'll want to make the stadium a really tough place to visit. Whether Forest has shown enough for me in the final third to suggest they can get the win, that's another matter. I think really Dyche is going to have more time working, getting the defence right, and then it will slowly work with them grabbing a few goals here and there. But I just think they could frustrate United, and I think a share the spoils is what I'm going for.
Okay, there you go. That is Forest United. Let's move on to Monday night then, 8 p.m. kickoff. We've got Sunderland hosting Everton, 15-8 Sunderland, 11-5 the draw, 8-5 Everton. Prices at time of recording, of course. So stay with you, James. What are we going for?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a Sunderland win here. I mean, what a season it has been for Sunderland so far. I mean, Reggie Lebree is doing some job at the Stadium of Light. I did have my reservations about the Black Cats coming up, and looking at some of the transfer business they were bringing players in for big money from other leagues, and you just thought, are they going to be able to fit into this team and get used to the Premier League straight away? Well, I can hold my hands up and say they absolutely have. They've shown great determination in what they're doing so far. They've held firm at the back, and they've been clinical in the final third with the chances that they've created. 2 victories in a row for them. They beat Wolves and Chelsea. I mean, that win against Chelsea was a really sort of a statement victory for them away from home. They've won 3 of their last 4 as well. They've only lost 1 of the last 7 in the league. So the only way is up at the minute for Sunderland. They've collected 10 points at home as well, winning 3 and drawing 1. Only Arsenal, Bournemouth and Man Utd have amassed more home points than Sunderland this season. So it shows how much of a fortress the Stadium Light is becoming for them. You look at Everton, and they're enduring a bit of a struggle at the minute. Just 1 win in 7 in all competitions. They've lost the last 2 without scoring as well. You feel the frustration starting to build a little bit, and maybe that pressure on David Moyes as well. I know it's sort of return of the hero for Moyes, but I think the Everton fans with the new stadium, they'll want something bigger. I mean, I know it's sometimes a case of, be careful what you wish for, because if you get rid of someone who's such an experienced manager like Moyes is, and of course West Ham did, and then they tried to change the manager in a different sort of approach, and it went downhill for them. So for me, I think Everton, they've lost at Leeds, they've lost at Liverpool and Man City in the league this campaign. They also went down to Wolves, rock bottom Wolves in the EFL Cup. So away form is a real big concern for me. So I just like the price of Sunderland at home.
Okay, the Black Cats are certainly purring. Aaron, what are we going for?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Sunderland draw no bet at 10-11. I mean, the Stadium of Light will be rocking after Sunderland's superb start to the season. And supporters in the North East are some of the best, if not the actual best around when things are going well. It's going to be a horrible place to go to. They've picked up 10 points from 4 home games, as James echoed. And that just shows how difficult it will be for Everton on what will be an emotional return to the Stadium of Light for Jordan Pickford. The Toffees, they've won only 1 of their last 7, failed to score on 4 occasions in that run. And that includes defeat of Wolves in the EFL Cup, as well as a 1-1 draw at home to West Ham. So much will be made of the Black Cats that they're clearly punching above their weight, and bookmakers clearly think so, as they're outsiders here. But that's based on shot data and a generous run of opponents. But I just think the Stadium Light's going to be a horrible place to go to. And I think Sunderland will at least avoid defeat and get our stakes back.
Yes, I tend to agree. Lively price, that one. Right, we can keep this one really short, lads. West Ham at home to Newcastle, 2 p.m. on Sunday. West Ham are 4-1. The draw is 3s. And Newcastle are 13-20. James, talk to me. What are we going for?
Yeah, I'm going to save you any kind of full-time result market here or amount of goals, but I am picking out a goal scorer, and Fabian Schär, the Newcastle defender, sort of jumps out at me to score at any time. I mentioned West Ham have looked so poor under Nuno. They're failing to stop the flow of goals. They're struggling to create at the other end. Newcastle are rightly fancy to get the win, but 3 draws and a loss away from home in the league just shows that there's little frailties in this Newcastle side on their travels, which is why I don't fancy a full-time result market with the prices there. So the player said a share to get on the score sheet any time. West Ham, they've been abysmal defending set pieces. They've conceded 9 from set pieces. That's the worst in the division. And they now come up against a Newcastle side who boast plenty of height. You've got Voltemada, the new signing, 6'7". You've got Dan Burn in there. You've got Joe Linton. You've got Sven Botman, Malik Chow. But also Schär, he's actually had to sort of settle for a place on the bench of late. He got concussion about a month ago. And then Malik Chow came in, the new summer signing. And he and Botman together formed a really good partnership. Botman was out of the team for the midweek win, the EFL Cup win for Newcastle, because he had a cut to his face for the victory against Fulham last weekend. So there's doubts whether Botman will be back in the starting 11. But if Cher wanted to say to Eddie Howe, please pick me, well, he goes and scores the opener in midweek in the EFL Cup there. So he's just got that bit about him. He scored 6 times last season as well in all competitions for Newcastle. I just think against this weak West Ham defence, he'll be licking his chops at potentially getting the chance to go up against them.
Well, as a West Ham fan, I feel like I've had concussions since the start of the season. But listen, as a side note here, very toxic atmosphere. I think there's a scheduled sit-in after the game as well. So all things are very much not well at West Ham. How do you see it, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm afraid, Dave. I'm going to go for Newcastle -1 goal on the handicap at 7-4. Things are obviously looking very bleak for West Ham. 7 defeats in 9, and there's been no such thing as home advantage to relieve them at the London Stadium. The Hammers, they've lost all 4 at home. They've leaked 12 goals, and the manner of their latest defeat, the 2-0 defeat to Brentford, suggests that Newcastle could chalk up a convincing victory here. The Magpies still await a first away league win of the campaign, but goalless draws at Villa, Leeds and Bournemouth show their defensive steel. This West Ham side's not creating a bundle of chances. So I think that if they go ahead early, they could soon control matters and things could quickly get ugly. Once behind, the London Stadium, as you say, can turn toxic. And I'm not sure they have many players other than the obvious in like Jared Bowen that's actually up for the scrap. You look at them and they tend to roll over, and reports suggesting that Paqueta wants out in January suggests is he going to be up for it up until then? I'm not sure. So Newcastle -1 goal on the handicap for me, Dave.
There we go. Right, Fulham Wolves, 3 p.m. on Saturday. 5-6 Fulham, 5-2 the draw, and 7-2 Wolves here. Again, prices at the time of recording. I'll stay with you, Aaron. How do you see it?
I mean, this is already a massive match, isn't it? Fulham, they've lost 4 on the spin. They needed penalties to see off Wickham in the EFL Cup in midweek. And Wolves, they remain winless after 9, and they're showing few signs of progress, but a 3-2 defeat at home to Burnley would have been a tough one to take last weekend. So both teams really need maximum points here. So I'm going to go for both teams to score. Both teams' scores landed in 5 of Wolves' last 7 league games. And in Jordan Strand-Larsen, they have got a focal point to their attack, and he does bring the wide options into play. So they will carry a threat. While the only teams Fulham have failed to score against in the league this season were Arsenal and Chelsea. Both teams have scored in the last 5 meetings. And while the odds suggest that this could be a cagey 6-pointer, I reckon a goal could soon spark it into life. So, yeah, both teams to score for me at shade of odds on.
Okay, what about yourself, James?
Yeah, I'm going to go for Fulham to win and under 2.5 goals for this one. Again, echoing what Aaron is saying, it's an absolutely crucial game for both of these sides. Fulham, Marco Silva, just not quite happening at the moment. But for Wolves, it's even worse. And, you know, there's the reports coming out that Vitor Pereira has got the backing for now, it's saying. I think a poor result this weekend could potentially see the end of his reign, or if they give him a little bit more longer stay of execution, potentially the next international break, which is only a couple of weeks away. If things don't improve by then, I think they will probably look the owners to bring somebody else in. But, you know, you look at Fulham, they've lost the last 4 in the league, like Aaron was saying, but they've actually competed pretty well in those games. They lost 1-0 against Arsenal, 2-1 against Newcastle when they conceded in stoppage time last time out. And they've been strong at home. 7 of their 8 points have come at Craven Cottage. Their only defeat at home in all comps was against the table-topping Arsenal as well. So they are a tough nut to crack on their own patch. Mentioned it's a stark contrast, really, when you look at Wolves. They've lost the last 2 against Burnley and Sunderland. I know Sunderland are doing well, but their 2 matches, I think, at the start of the season, they would have fancied getting something from, and they look in real trouble. A Fulham win's expected, but I don't think it's going to be full of goals. You know, Fulham have scored just 9 times in the league, Wolves 7. So attack has been an area of concern for both of these teams, but I just think Fulham have probably got it in them just to edge this one, maybe 1 or 2-0. But yeah, I think Fulham winning under 2.5 goals is the way here.
The dreaded vote of confidence. There you go. That sounds like it's been issued there. Right, Brighton Leeds, another 3 p.m. on Saturday. I'll stay with you, James. 9-10 Brighton, 27-10 the draw, and 3-1 Leeds. How do you see it?
Yeah, I'm going again slightly against the grain here with what some of the stats would suggest, but Brighton to win to 0. Now, usually the staple bet is Brighton to win or both teams to score on their games over 2.5 goals, but I just think there's this Leeds side, when I look at them, they have struggled to take their chances, Leeds. They've created plenty, but it's having that clinical player in the final third. Dominic Calvert-Lewin they brought in isn't scoring enough. Brendan Aronson is too hit and miss for me. Okafor has been in and out with injury. Willie Gnonto is out injured at the moment as well. So they're just struggling to have those players that are going to take these chances coming their way. They failed to score in 3 of the 4 away matches in the league this term as well. They were blanked at Arsenal, Fulham and Burnley. They did score twice last time out, but that was at home, and it was against a dismal West Ham side who have been woeful at the back. They haven't scored at Brighton. This is the big one for me. They haven't scored at Brighton in the last 7 trips there. 2012 was the last time they scored at Brighton. Can any of you two name me who might have scored for Leeds that day? It was a 2-2 draw back in 2012.
2012.
Wow.
It's a long time, and it's El Hadj Diouf and Luciano Becchio. They were the last 2 Leeds players to score at the Amex Stadium. It just shows how poor they've been on their trips to the South Coast. They haven't won at the Amex in their 9 attempts. So I fancy Brighton to keep them at bay again. The Seagulls are unbeaten at home this season. They've got the better of Newcastle and Man City during this period as well. So I'm going to go Brighton to win with a rare clean sheet.
Okay, well, steady on the trivia, James. I don't remember what I did yesterday, so let alone back in 2012. Aaron, how'd you see it?
Well, James has put a downer on this selection, but I was going to go for Brighton to win and both teams to score. But, well, it depends how you want to play it. But, yeah, I'm going to stick with that. Brighton's 4-match unbeaten run at the Amex this season means that they've lost only 1 of the last 12 Premier League home games. And this season, obviously, they've recorded 2-1 wins over Man City and Newcastle at the Amex. The Seagulls have sometimes struggled to stamp their authority against the so-called lesser lights, and a 4-2 defeat at Manchester United last weekend was not what they needed at all. But Leeds have been outclassed 5-0 at Arsenal, and they've lost to 0 on trips to Burnley and Fulham, 2 sides below them in the table, and 2 sides that they're probably going to have to finish above if they want to stay up as well. So they're evidently much happier playing at home at Ellen Road. So I think Brighton will have too much attacking quality for Leeds. I think they'll just create too many chances not to triumph. But they've conceded 15 goals in 9 league games. They still haven't kept a clean sheet this season. So I think Leeds will be able to score at least a consolation. So, yeah, Brighton to win and both teams to score for me.
It's all right to disagree. It'll be boring if we all thought the same. So don't worry. Take your pick. I'll be interested to see how that one unfolds. Right, this one I'm very much looking forward to. This is goals, and more goals, surely. Another of the Saturday 3 p.m s, the final game to look at. Palace at home to Brentford. 10-11 Palace, 13-5 the draw, 29-10 Brentford. I'll stay with you, Aaron. How do you see it?
Yeah, I agree with you here, Dave. I think this could be goals galore. Not only have both teams scored in the last 6 meetings between the sides, but that seems to be Brentford's way this season. They've scored 28 goals. There's been 28 goals scored across their 9 league games, and both teams have scored in 6 of those matches. Obviously, Palace drew 3-3 with Bournemouth in their last game at Selhurst Park, and with attack set to shine, I quite like the idea of Mikkel Damsgaard to get a goal or an assist. I was really impressed with him at Liverpool last weekend. He assisted the second goal in that 3-2 win, and he also forced 2 fine saves on that occasion. He scored and assisted in a 3-1 win for Denmark over Greece in World Cup qualification earlier this month as well. I think he's playing really well, Damsgaard. He's really coming of age. And he did get an assist in a 2-1 win away at Crystal Palace for Brentford last season. So having been an unused sub in midweek against Grimsby, I think he'll be fit, raring to go. And I think the way he's playing at the moment, Damsgaard, I think he's got a key role to play.
Okay, what about yourself, James?
I like Brentford at the prices. I like Brentford going into this game. You look at Palace, they eased past what was a much changed and youthful Liverpool team in the Cup, but no winning 3 in the league. They also had a defeat to AEK Larnaca in there as well. There's maybe just a little sense of the demands of all these fixtures, the extra fixtures they've got this season is starting to have a slight impact on the squad. It's not got as much strength and depth of other teams in Europe. And they haven't been that impressive at home either. They've drawn against Forest, Sunderland and Bournemouth. Mentioned there, they lost to Larnaca as well. And you look at Brentford, well, they've surprised a few. They surprised me this season when you look at what happened to them in the summer. You know, they lost Mbumo, Visser, Norgard, the spine really of the team. And then they lost Thomas Frank as well. So that the manager went. Keith Andrews gets put in, but he's done an absolutely stellar job. And, you know, I'm not a Brentford fan, but I'm just happy for Keith Andrews because I think there's a lot of negativity about him coming into it being handed the job, but he's doing absolutely fantastically, highlighted by that fantastic 3-2 win against Liverpool, 3 wins in the last 4 league matches. They also accounted for West Ham and Man U during that period, cruised into the EFL Cup quarterfinals as well on Tuesday. They thrashed Grimsby 5-0. Confidence is only growing in this squad. There's a real togetherness. Everyone's banded together with what happened in the summer. They've got behind Andrews, who is delivering the goods. And I just think with the way they're playing, the confidence they've got at that price, I can't really ignore them.
Well, there you go. That wraps up the Premier League action. Loads more to come on this week's assist. We've got an FPL preview for you. Aaron will be talking EFL, FA Cup. We've got a bet builder and, of course, Treble and Naps to come after this. Right, it is FPL time with our expert, Jamie Philby.
Game week 10 is fast approaching, and as always, we've got 3 assets that you should consider transferring into your FPL team. Starting in defence, Gabriel is a must-own at this point. At 36% ownership, you can even argue that that's slightly on the low side. The Arsenal defender is simply outstanding. Jamie Carragher even labelled him the most influential player in the Premier League. The Brazilian comes in at 6.4 million, which is pricey, but not when you can consider he's averaging 7.6 points per game. He's arguably the most informed player in the Premier League and is part of a defence that has conceded just 3 goals this entire season. The Gunners and Gabriel travel to Turf Moor to face Burnley this weekend. The Clarets have the highest XG conceded as well as the lowest XG created so far this campaign. In midfield, our pick for this week is Manchester United's Brian Mbeumo. The Cameroon international is fresh off a 15-point haul against Brighton last time out, and he's already been bought in by well over 700,000 managers. United and Mbeumo travel to Nottingham Forest this weekend, who occupy a spot in the relegation zone and have lost 4 in a row. And lastly, we're going with Crystal Palace forward Jean-Philippe Mateta as our striker pick. The Eagles have recorded an XG of 17.6 this season, which is a league high, and Mateta can exploit the Brentford back line. The Frenchman is the most transferred in striker this week, and only Erling Haaland has recorded a higher XG than Mateta this campaign.
Right, let's talk EFL then. And a big story breaking this week was, of course, Sheffield Wednesday going into administration, celebrated, now sitting on -6 points. There's some big names down at the bottom as well, Aaron. How do you see the relegation battle going?
Yeah, firstly, it's obviously a big shame for Sheffield Wednesday going into administration. But Wednesday fans know that it's a long-term gain, and down the line, it will probably have a positive impact on them as a club. They're almost certainly destined for the drop now, but there'll still be an attractive proposition in League One for owners, managers and players, and you'd expect them to give it a good go in their bid to bounce back. That obviously only leaves 2 spaces up for grabs if Sheffield Wednesday are going to go down. So you look at the big names down there, but we're still only 12 games in, especially in the terms of Southampton and Sheffield United. They'll still believe that they can make up the necessary gap to actually challenge for the playoff places. There's a lot of points still to play for, and they've got some of the stronger resources at their disposal and some of the better players at their disposal. So I wouldn't be panicking too much if I was on any of those to break into the top 7. You look at the likes of Derby, Portsmouth and Oxford. They sit 17th to 19th currently. I think they're the 3 that could be reeled in quite quickly by those bigger names down the bottom. And home form is going to be vital for all of them because they're sandwiched in between some real big spenders. They've got the likes of Wrexham and Birmingham just above them. They've got the likes of Southampton, Sheffield United, Norwich below them. So I'd say that at the current prices, I would have a go on Derby. They might represent the relegation value at 7-2. Back-to-back 1-0 wins over second-bottom Norwich and QPR have given them a lift. But they lost the shot count 17-8 to the Canaries, who are currently second-bottom. And they're the only team in the Championship yet to get to 100 shots across their opening 12 matches. You look at those opening 12 matches, 10 of them have gone under 2.5 goals. So they're going to be involved in a lot of tight, low-scoring affairs. They need to be on the right side of those, but I'm not sure they have the necessary quality to do so. So if the likes of Southampton and Sheffield United do pick up as expected, I could see Derby one of those that might get reeled in.
Interesting. Right, let's talk best bets then. We've got a little bit of FA Cup as well. Hopefully you can sprinkle in a bit of that for us, Aaron. Best bets in the Championship then?
Yeah, I've got one in the Championship, Dave. I'm going to go for Southampton to beat Preston, one of those sides that have had an horrific start to the season. It's a really tough card in the Championship this week, plenty of odds on home shots. And I know there's big pressure on Will still from supporters. They're starting to turn on him a little bit. But I think he can ease the strain with victory over Preston at St Mary's. They've won only 2 of their opening 12 games, but 6 of those matches have been draws. And you look at the shot stats, only Coventry, who are the leaders, and Ipswich have created more chances than them this season. So you'd like to think that the tide should soon turn. Still, style of play was always going to take some adjusting to. And in Southampton's last 2 home games, which were draws with Middlesbrough and Swansea, they had 35 shots combined and let up only 13 against them. While Preston, they may be on the cusp of the playoffs, but they picked up only 5 of their 19 points on the road. And this long trip to St Mary's, I think, could be a tricky one for them.
Okay, very interesting. Any FA Cup action that takes your eye?
Yeah, I've picked out 2 bets, Dave. I've gone for Peterborough or draw double chance at home to Cardiff, which may look an interesting one on paper. But Peterborough, they sacked manager Darren Ferguson after last weekend's loss at home to Blackpool. That leaves them bottom of League One. But I think former Swansea boss Luke Williams, he looks a really astute appointment for this level. And I think it could be the dreaded new manager bounce for Cardiff. There has to be concern as to where this will actually rank in Cardiff's list of priorities. Obviously, they booked their place in the EFL Cup quarter-final in midweek. There would have been a lot of focus on that tie with Wrexham, having not played them for such a long time. Well, they also sit 3rd in League One, so I could see them kind of making plenty of changes. And this is already a youthful squad. So Posh, for all they sit bottom of League One, you look at their team; it's much stronger than their actual position. They had a late summer overhaul in the transfer window. They strengthened sufficiently. It's going to need time for these players to settle, but they actually did win 3 of their final 6 league matches under Ferguson. And I think Williams could be the man to could spark them into life. So I think they can pick up a positive result. They're 4-5 to avoid defeat at home, and I don't think this will be a focus for Cardiff.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, one more. I'm going to go for Salford draw no bet at home to Lincoln at 11-8. Salford, they're 3rd in League 2. They host Lincoln, who are actually 5th in League One. But I can envisage a cup upset here. Lincoln have lost in the first round of the FA Cup in 2 of the last 3 years, going down to Morecambe and Chippenham in that time. And Salford will be another tough test, having won 4 of the last 5 at home. And that includes against League One leaders Stockport in the EFL Trophy. And it was actually a really pretty strong lineup from the Hatters. So that's a good win. That shouldn't be overlooked. This is a quick turnaround for Lincoln. They were held to a goalless draw at promotion rivals Bradford on Tuesday. And that means they've now failed to score in 3 of the last 4 matches. And Salford, they're very strong at home and they'll sense an upset here.
Okay, right. Good stuff. Right, thank you for that, Aaron. Right, we're now going to go to James for a Premier League bet builder. Of course, remember to jump on to Free Super Tips, the home of bet builders. What you got for us, James?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the 5:30 p.m. game on Saturday, Tottenham against Chelsea. So I've got 3 legs for this bet builder for you. The first one is Estevao to be an anytime goal scorer. Chelsea are joint top of the scoring charts in the Premier League this season, along with Spurs and City. So they're creating plenty of chances. And I've really been impressed with the displays of Estevao. He's got 3 in his last 5 for the Blues, and he's also netted twice on international duty with Brazil in October. So he looks capable, I think, of notching against Spurs and continuing his good run of form. The second leg of it is over 9 corners. Now, both teams like to play attacking football. They favour attack over defence. This should increase for me the chances of there being a fair few corners. Tottenham's games, well, they're averaging 11.15 corners this season. Chelsea's are 9.69. So just sort of going between both of those. So the 2 can combine for at least 10. And then the third part of the bet builder is Chelsea to get the most cards. Now, much has been made of Chelsea's poor discipline this season, 11 yellows, 3 reds in the league. Spurs themselves have picked up 17, but the Blues have the disadvantage of playing away from home here. More of their players can fall foul of the referee in what should be quite a hostile atmosphere for them. And you look at some of the games recently for Chelsea, and the midweek cup defeat to Wolves being one of them, where Liam Delap comes on and then he gets 2 yellow cards and is sent off. They just have players in there that just lose their heads. Another one was the Nottingham Forest game. They were cruising with a 3-0 victory, which they ended up getting. But then Malo Gusto gets sent off for a stupid challenge late on. So it's just too many players, I think, in that Chelsea team who just have ill discipline and fall foul the referee too many times. So that would make up this 3-leg bet builder. So Estevao anytime goal scorer, over 9 corners, and Chelsea to get the most cards.
Okay, hopefully a nice big price, James.
Yeah, you can get that at around 11 to 1.
Lovely. There's going to be bookings in that game for sure. Feisty as ever. Right, treble time then. I'll stay with you. James, who are we going for?
Yeah, we've gone in the Championship for this one, and it's Oxford against Millwall, and I've gone for Millwall to get the win. Oxford's performances this season, that shows that they will be battling against relegation. They scraped past rock bottom Sheffield Wednesday 2-1 last weekend, and that was with all the problems surrounding the Owls. They almost didn't get the win. Oxford, they've won just one of their 5 home league matches, and they could be in for a long afternoon when they're promotion chasing Millwall. I'm not sure if anyone really had Millwall on their radar at the start of the season for potential promotion, but they're in there at the moment. They visit the Kassam Stadium. I mean, Alex Neil is doing a terrific job with the lines. They've won 4 on the spin. They've beaten West Brom, QPR, Stoke, and Leicester, and they've been excellent on the road as well. They've got the joint second best away record, 11 points collected, and they're unbeaten on their travels in the Championship. So for me, they just look like a big price to win away against a poor Oxford side.
Okay, Aaron, who are we going for?
I'm going to go for Brighton to get the job done at home to Leeds. The Seagulls, as I said earlier, they've lost only one of their last 12 Premier League home games. They've beaten Newcastle and Manchester City at the Amex this season. While I expect Leeds to do the bulk of their winning at Ellen Road this term, they've already lost to nil on trips to Burnley and Fulham, 2 sides that will be mixing it alongside them in the Premier League this season. And scoring from open play still looks a big problem for them. So, yeah, Brighton to get the job done at home.
Okay, and shamelessly from myself, I'm going to go odds on. I'm going to keep it really simple. Goals, Palace, Brentford. It's copped in the last 6 games. Palace struggling, 6 meetings. Palace struggling to keep a clean sheet. Carnage there. That treble, both teams to score, Palace, Brentford, Brighton and Millwall is around about 6 to 1 there. So that is your treble this week on the assist. Naps time then. Right, what you got for us, lads? We'll start with you, Aaron.
I'm going to keep things simple here, Dave. Arsenal to win to 0 away at Burnley at 5-6. It doesn't seem to matter what defence or team Mikel Arteta puts out. They're extremely hard to break down. They don't let up much opportunities. And I think chances will come at a premium for Burnley. Mikel Arteta made wholesale changes for their 2-0 victory over Brighton in midweek. Eze was the only starter from the team that won at home to Palace on the Sunday. So I don't see any drop-off from the league leaders, and that was their 9th win to 0 in their last 11 matches. Burnley, they're more expansive than we would have expected, but they failed to register a shot on target when hosting Liverpool, and I think there'll be a big gulf between them this weekend.
Okay, James Mason, Mace the Ace. What's the nap this week?
Fulham to win and under 2.5 goals. I think things will turn around for Fulham at some point. They've been competing in their matches recently, just haven't had the rub of the green really. A late goal against Newcastle last time out. So I think they will have enough to defeat a Wolves side where they can't get any sort of momentum going at the moment, and they are struggling to score goals. Although they've recently bagged a few, it's still, a very low score of 7 in the league this season for Wolves. I just think Fulham, with their home record as well, they've got 7 of the 8 points in the Premier League at Craven Cottage this season. I think that will probably be just enough, maybe the little bit of the advantage that they need to get the win. So Fulham to win and under 2.5 goals.
Lovely stuff. Right, they are the best bets there. Thank you both, James and Aaron, for your time and expertise this week. Do remember to get involved with us here on the Racing Post YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell. So when we upload, you will know. The assist will be back next week. Look out for it. Gamble responsibly, and we'll see you next time.